Hi again, my name is Dr. Patricia Lopez. This is my channel, Love Yourself Healthy. Welcome back. Today I would like to speak to you guys about why is narcissistic abuse a public health matter? Why is it important to discuss, highlight, create awareness and education around or surrounding the topic of narcissistic abuse? So first of all, I would like to define some terminology with you. And the first term that I'm going to define for you is pathology. So I'm a public health professional because I have my advanced degree in health education. And so one of the terms that we study when we're going to school, and depending what type of field we work in, especially in a clinical counseling field, psychiatrists, social workers, clinical psychologists, any type of clinical work that works with people in treatment, counseling them, and so forth, would use this terminology. And so the term that I want to define for you first is pathology. What is pathology? So pathology is a branch of medical science that studies the causes, mechanisms, and effects of diseases, right? So that's very broad and very general. So basically it's the study of disease. Why does disease happen? Where does it come from? Where does this stem from? What are the underlying factors revolving the growth of a disease or an illness? Okay, so that's what pathology is. Now I want to define another term for you, and it contains the word pathology in it, but it is psychopathology. And what is psychopathology? Well, psychopathology is the scientific study of mental illnesses or disorders. It features people's mental health, right, considered in a collective matter. So pathology, the study of disease, right? Where does it root from? Where does it stem from? Psychopathology is a little bit more focused, okay, because it is the scientific study of mental illnesses and disorders. So when we talk about narcissistic disorder or narcissistic abuse, narcissistic traits within a person, we have to pretty much talk about it from that foundation, right, of psychopathology. So because a person may not have the full narcissistic disorder, they can still exemplify and have narcissistic traits. And depending, well, I wouldn't want to say depending, but there are some narcissistic traits that are different from each other. And there's, I think, about 9 of them. Some of them are very harmful towards other people, especially someone that's very close to the narcissist, such as their child, their parent, or their siblings even, or an intimate partner, romantic partner, or spouse. So have it be they have the full narcissistic personality disorder, or have it be they have just the traits, 2 or 3 traits and so forth, it's still considered psychopathic. So when a counselor or someone studying mental health to become a counselor, to become a licensed clinician, to become a licensed clinical psychologist, when they're in school studying all of this and all of these disorders, the disorders are grouped up, and there's very quick mention of all of this, the disorders and the characteristics and so forth. So being that in in schooling for a mental health counselor, they basically just kind of like have an overview of these types of personality disorders, and they don't really have a lot of time invested in studying these disorders. They focus more on what individuals are coming to them for. And as long as there isn't a specialization in narcissistic personality disorder information and education, it's very difficult for this type of information to surface to like the public health issues among our society. But I do want to emphasize that narcissistic abuse has become recently a public health issue, and it is a pandemic, kind of like a COVID pandemic, but it is a narcissistic abuse pandemic. This is taking place in our societies, in our homes, in our relationships, among romantic relationships, among marriages, even affecting children that are in these relationships and that are in these marriages. It is becoming a big problem. It is a big problem. It's not becoming. It is a problem, and you can foresee a glimpse of that. Not as serious, but you can foresee a glimpse of that taking place in our society. There are so many people nowadays that do things without taking consideration of someone else's needs. They just do things without considering other people. Our level of consideration in our world has plummeted. People go on about their daily, everyday lives, and they do for them. It's all about them, them, them. We become very about the self, myself, and no consideration for others. And I think we can all agree that we live in this age right now where it's very difficult to find people that truly care for each other, that are truly, in the long run, there for each other. And it's unfortunate because you may very well feel very alone. And these types of narcissistic individuals come along and they give you all of this attention, and they think, or they make you think, they definitely think this, but they make you think that there's this type of just bond with each other, that there's just this energy, kind of like, this person's energy with the narcissistic tendencies and the narcissistic disorder is here, and then you're here, and it's just like this energy is kind of like attracting you to them. So there's this type of magnetic thing that's taking place, and that is how a person with a narcissistic disorder or traits lures their prey. There's many more tactics that they use, such as love bombing in the beginning of a relationship. They will love bomb you. Oh boy. They will constantly call you, send you text messages, tell you that they can't stop thinking about you. They'll, bring you flowers. They'll give you other presents. They'll take you out to fancy schmancy places to eat, take you out to this place, take you there. Just love bomb on you. And that is something that only takes place for a season, and then it stops and it changes. So what these types of individuals do is very addicting because we live in a world where we're, isolated to our phones. We're not spending a lot of time in community, especially during the pandemic and coming out of the COVID pandemic. We spent a lot of times isolated with just ourselves, and we don't have a lot of community, meaning we don't have a lot of individuals that we can rely on, that in the long run will be there for us, this type of quality friendships, quality relationships is very, very, very hard to come by. And I'm talking about healthy relationships here, okay? Talking about healthy relationships, because a whole bunch of different types of relationships can happen and connections can happen, but they don't necessarily mean it's a healthy connection or a healthy relationship. Some people have a whole bunch of people in their circle, but they're dysfunctional, right? And they're toxic people. And so dysfunction and toxicity feeds on itself, and it'll attract that same type of energy. I mean, there's a lot of relationships and friendships, acquaintances, out there that are based on unhealthy qualities. That is, another topic for another day. But I'm talking about very healthy relationships here, based on morals, values, true love. A lot of respect surrounding these relationships is very important. And they're just healthy. They're healthy, wholesome relationships. Those are the types of relationships I'm talking about. It's very hard to find a healthy, wholesome relationship. Sometimes when a relationship is built, it's based on an exchange, right? I'll give you this and you'll give me that. And whoa, we're friends and we're best friends, right? That is not a healthy relationship. So I'm talking about healthy, genuine relationships where the individuals involved does not have another agenda for each other. They truly care about each other, and they're there for each other. These types of relationships are very difficult to find nowadays. So when someone is isolated, right, and they're not able to find true friendships, and they are an empath or a highly sensitive person, and these types of genuine friendships and connections with others is something that's very important to them. When the narcissist or the person with the narcissistic traits, behaviors comes around and they know how to work their spell, it's very easy for the individual to fall in its trap, right? It's very easy for the empath or the highly sensitive person to fall in the web of a narcissistic, traded, or disordered person. And so that's how it happens, guys. And it happens in friendships. It happens even in family members. It happens in intimate relationships, romantic relationships, marriages, and so forth. So you can imagine that these types of cases are not seldom. They're not, rare. Quite the opposite. They're very common nowadays. It's very, very common right now. And people don't understand what's going on. People are in these relationships or in these friendships, and they don't understand what's happening. And we may hopefully be very well to understand that, okay, this is an individual that is not really worth to have a friendship with, and we cut them off. But we walk away not realizing that this is a person with a psychopathology, right? This is a person that has real issues. This is a person that falls under this public health issue that we are dealing with nowadays. This is a public health issue, and it is a public health issue, because if you have 1 in 5, right, individuals that have some sort of mental health disorder, and you have an increase of narcissistic personality disorders taking place, it's important to know some of these traits. So these come out straight from the DSM. And the DSM stands for the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. The first one is a grandiose sense of self-importance, exaggerates their achievements and talents, expects to be recognized as superior without commensurate achievements. The second one is preoccupied with fantasies of unlimited success, power, brilliance, beauty, or ideal love. Now that second one in itself, do we not have individuals even within our celebrity world that pretty much reflect that trait? We have many. The third one is believes that he is special and unique and can only be understood by or should only associate with other special or other high status people or institutions. Definitely have that. Requires excessive admiration. Definitely have that. We definitely have a lot of people in the society that wants attention all the time. I can think of a few that I have on my social media platform. The next one has a sense of entitlement, unreasonable expectations of especially favorable treatment or automatic compliance with his expectations. So we have a lot of individuals in our workplaces that are unfortunately our managers, our supervisors, our leaders that exemplify that trait in our places of employment. And that is a problem because that can create a very toxic workplace. And I think that is happening a lot nowadays. I have my share of toxic workplaces. How many have you been exposed to? Or do you work in a current place that you may consider to be a toxic workplace? Maybe you have some of these individuals that you work with that are above you in your position and so forth. So this is very prevalent today, and all of these things are very prevalent today, and this all falls under the narcissistic disorder tendencies and traits. So we definitely have this going on in our world, and this is taking place. This is a problem. This is why it is a public health problem. So next we have is interpersonally exploitive within relationships and takes advantage of others to achieve his own ends. Definitely got that. Lacks empathy and is unwilling to recognize or identify with the feelings and needs of others. So this is a big problem. When you're not able to be empathic or have any type of consideration for another individual when you have done harm to them, that is a problem. That is not okay. And I would say that out of all of these traits, this one is the most harmful for individuals, because everybody needs to be seen, everybody needs to be heard, everybody needs to be able to share their feelings, share their emotions with those people that are the closest among you. And when you have a partner that lacks empathy for your emotions, your feelings, that is a big problem. Next is often envious of others or believes that others are envious of him. Next is shows an arrogant, haughty behavior or attitude. Definitely have some of those. So this last part is kind of a summary of all of these traits. So there were only 9 traits. I was right. So I'm going to read it out to you. The disorders of APD, that stands for antisocial personality disorder, APD, psychopathy, which I already defined for you, sociopathy, which I have not defined as of yet, but I will before this video is over. Narcissism and borderline represents a spectrum of disorders most often associated with impulsivity problems. Interpersonal exploitation, so exploiting the other person. Impulsivity means they're very impulsive types of individuals. Cognitive distortions, their way of thinking is very distorted, okay? They're not able to think right. They think very distorted. There's dysfunction in their thought processing. That's what cognitive distortion is. Low or no empathy, we just talked about that. And varying levels of inappropriate, non-existing conscious, and remorse. These groups that are low empathy, conscious spectrum disorders, for a survivor like myself and plenty of other individuals out there, plenty of other women out there, this means an inevitable harm. This means inevitable harm. So if you have individuals in your life that represent any of these traits, even 1 or 2, it can cause inevitable harm to you. And that's why this is a public health issue. This is a public health issue because of this fact. So sociopathy is used interchangeably with antisocial personality disorder, APD, and it is a mental health condition characterized by a persistent disregard of social norms and the rights of others. So it sounds, this sounds correct, right? As to like what we're seeing in our society nowadays, including a lack of empathy and remorse. That's a problem. So hopefully this video has been informational for you. I hope that you've learned some new material today, and this is why narcissistic abuse is a public health problem. Until the next time, thank you for being here. Thank you for watching this video. Please share it with others. Raise the awareness and education about narcissistic abuse. And let's bring light to this situation, these circumstances that our people are living in. And let's get people out of these unhealthy relationships healed and cured. Have a great one. Till next time. Bye-bye.